for the budget and for all of the flyers and the postcards that they mailed out to everybody. We thank you for your support, as it did not turn out the way we had hoped, but we want to say thank you to our teachers union for their support on that. So for now, we're going to turn it over to Susan and Drew for their presentation.
So we come here tonight to talk a bit about what we might do now. So as we get ready to discuss our goals for this evening, we're going to talk about revote options, contingent budget options. We'll answer any questions you may have. We're hoping you are able to give us some guidance about where you want to go from here, a revote or a contingency budget. And then we will start our work based on that, our additional work, our next steps based on that information. And as always, we'll start with our mission statement to get us all centered. We come to you tonight with 4 scenarios. Scenarios 1 and 2, which will be A and B, I believe, are a revote to adopt a budget slightly under the tax cap. That's what we would be asking you to do, to adopt a spending limit that gets us back to the 3.25 levy limit. We have 2 different options to get to those reductions. That would give us an estimated tax increase of 1.63 and a spending increase of 2.19. And it actually puts us under our tax levy limit by $849. Scenario 3 would be a revote with the same budget that we just forgot. As you know, that generates a tax levy increase of 5.09%, requires a supermajority vote, an estimated tax rate increase of 344, and is over the tax levy limit by $614,000. And scenario 4 would be to adopt a contingent budget. Drew, do you want to add anything before we go on? So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Drew, and he's going to take you through the options.
So scenarios 1 and 2 arrive at the same tax levy increase, same spending, but we arrive at it 2 different ways. You remember when we adopted the budget for the previous vote last Tuesday, or past Tuesday, we had a previous recommendation which reduced 2 reading teachers and a librarian, and we didn't do that. So the option number 1, scenario 1, gets us to the tax cap without reducing the 2 teachers and the librarian, the 2 reading teachers and librarian. And I'll take you through those reductions in other areas. None of these are easy, but Susan and I, and Rick, and of course understood the board's wish to preserve as much of the staffing as they could in all programs. Both scenario 1 and 2 preserve all programs that were previous in the budget that went before the board on Tuesday. The SROs are in, the trainers in, learning leaps is in, summer schools in, so forth. So a lot of work went in the last couple of weeks. I started working on this. As soon as we adopted budget internally, I worked on a fallback plan to, if we had to come, unfortunately, to where we are today. Scenario 2 is with basically the 3 teachers who would vacate their current position, the 2 reading teachers and librarian. They would fill in other spots but not backfill them. That was what at one point was the superintendent's recommendation to the board. So again, both options get us to where 50% majority would approve a budget, a spending plan, and a tax levy for 25-26. You can see that the impact on a household is between $64 and $80 with scenarios that get us on the cap.
And I just want to echo what Drew had said. I don't want you thinking that we were able to do this between Tuesday night and today. We were not. And so when I told you a couple of weeks ago I'm a pragmatic optimist, we really did start working as soon as you adopted the budget we took out to the public. So this is, and thank goodness we have, so that we were in shape to bring you something tonight, but we are hoping we can buy palatable. And I want to commend Drew and his folks as we've been driving them hard.
Option A and B, again, both arrive at the 614, almost 615,000 expense reduction to get us slightly under the allowable tax cap. Option A, which is Susan and my Rick's recommendation, you can see the big differences. Two reading teachers librarian have a 0 under option A. They were out of the option B scenario. Everything else kind of follows. We did some more realigning in B and G and the monitors. Nobody's losing their position. It's to looking at turnover savings. I'm going through every rock that I can to kind of find these savings. You saw the line items. I gave you a line item budget, which is for every scenario of the budget. I showed you the path and the line item changes that got you to what you adopted to what I'm presenting tonight. And I'm giving you a roll-up summary too to show you how this all comes together. So again, both get you to the tax cap, both get you to 50% majority. One leaves 3 teachers in their current position and one doesn't. And then there's reductions across the board in the B and G, transportation. I did find 50,000 on the special ed based on looking at the current enrollment changes. So that's really one student or half a student. So I went through everything, working with administration for the last couple of weeks, just looking at, again, the budget's a point in time, it's a plan, and it changes.
Drew, could you talk a little bit about the impact across other areas?
You can see B and G has a significant reduction, but I will say it's what I do. I manage operations for over 20 years. We'll get the schools clean, we'll get the grounds taken care of. We can do it for a year. We all know this is a bridge year. I will get it done through my team. I have a good team. We'll get it done. It wasn't easy.
Do you see any impacts to central office, given that both your office and I are going to have staff reductions?
Yeah, they're not going to like me, but my staff works hard. Susan's staff works hard. We're just not going to be able to get the things, certain things. I pride ourselves on internal and external customer service. We turn around information, we get back to it quickly. On payroll, on retirees, we may have to time it out a little bit because I don't have the depth. But we'll still get it done.
And as you folks know, Kathy in my office manages several things for us, homeschool policies with anyone, just day-to-day Chromebook loaners, invoicing, those kinds of things. That's not work that I expect Jill to absorb because she is your district clerk and that's not going to happen. So if you were to ask me tonight, do we have a plan to do that yet? No, we don't. But again, we heard you very clearly about what was important to you to say, and we bring you something tonight that does that. If you're going to have to be patient with us while we work out the rest of it.
This is the, as you've seen before, if we went contingent, not going on a revote, we have to reduce the tax levy by almost 1.7 million. And you can do that by a combination of, cutting expenses or adding revenue. You could find $1.7 million in revenue, and that would save you from reducing expenses. And you have to go out in the proportion of the last defeated or approved budget, whichever had the larger smaller admin percentage. We've gone over that. Right now, if you went out with option A or B, which gets us under the cap, you would only have to go out less than $1.1 million to contingency because you're close to it. The more you reduce, the less gap to continues. This is all I have right now because that's what we had defeated. What is a contingent expense and a non-contingent expense? So by law, non-contingent is management confidential raises, debt service, you can't cut it. That has to stay in. But management confidential raises don't. Health and safety components like equipment gets cut unless you can show that it's health and safety that's essential. That's not a truck or a snowblower or a lawnmower. That's like something that a child may need for equipment for learning or something like that. So most equipment goes, management confidential goes, but things like debt service stays in, and the board has to make a decision after that of what they want to adopt as a contingent expense. I don't like this slide.
And folks, we've got to talk about this timeline because this is the real timeline. You know all of the work that you completed between our first look at the roll forward budget, which was before February break, and your actual adoption at the end of March. And then the work we had to do to prepare for the budget vote. Well, if we're going to go out and re-vote, we have to do all that work, what we did to prepare to vote. So all of these things in this order, and you'll see it's a very tight deadline. I want to assure you that we have looked at every budget line, under every stone. What we bring you tonight is really our best thinking and recommendations for you. But come Tuesday night, our next budget meeting, we're going to have to know definitively if you're going out on a revote, what are we revoting on? Option A, option B, which gets you to the cap. Are you going back out with the same budget? My guess is nobody's going to tell me tonight you want to go directly to contingency. So that's really the clarity we're going to need from you. And at this point, we'll be happy to answer any questions you have about the material you've presented. Thank you.
Okay, so next we're gonna have a discussion about questions for Drew and Susan and how you are feeling, questions you have on anything. This is the time to ask your questions, because we do need to give an answer next Tuesday, correct? Pam, I'm gonna start with you.
Well, two of these options I can eliminate right away, and that's from past experience. The first one being going out with the same budget that we went out with that went down. The only budget that's gone down since I've been on board in my 29 years was before Susan got here. And it was, got a grant money that added cash to what we had to spend. And we went out with the same budget with a 0% tax increase. And it was voted down because it was the same budget. We hadn't gone back and cut anything from the budget. So I've learned from experience that just going back out and trying the same thing exactly the same way again is not really a good idea. The second thing I can do away with is going directly to the contingent budget. I was talking to a teacher today who was here in the district and saying how horrible it was to try and teach under a contingent budget and how hard it was for people to operate. I mean, we did away with field trips, we didn't have supplies, we couldn't get any equipment, the community couldn't use our buildings, we lost staff and teachers, and we lost modified and JV sports. in order to be able to meet the contingent budget. And I don't see it being much different this year. We've got the same types of things that we can cut. And I expect we would have to do the same things. So we have to give the community a chance to accept a budget that's under the cap. There's just no other choice. To be honest with you, I was surprised that we got option A. I was really worried that there was no way that we were going to keep our librarian and our reading teachers. And option A does that. It allows us to keep those reading teachers for our kids and allows us to keep the libraries open full-time with all of our present librarians. So my opinion at this point is that's the way to go. Let's keep our SROs, our ATs, our reading teachers, our librarians, all the things that were important to us and the things that the community came and said to us, these are the things we want, these are the things that are important. And option A keeps those, and it also allows us to go out under cap, which is what we heard from a lot of people, is that we had to be under the cap. They couldn't afford the raises that were involved with the budget that we put out the first time, but we can do this, we can keep the things we want, and we can go out under the cap.
Thank you, ma'am. Chad, thoughts?
Looking at what we've got provided here, option A, if we're going to be able to keep those services that the community have advocated for and that you as well agree with, that's something that I'm comfortable with. That was my main concern, especially with reading and enriching in the libraries going to close. Off the top of my head, I don't have anything right now, I'm still absorbing this, but I agree with Pam. Option A is unexpected, but in a good way. And at this moment, I'm agreeable with that.
Thanks, Chad. Emily, thoughts?
Yes, I knew before I came here that I didn't want to go to contingency and did not want to put out the same budget that we already had. I did have a couple of questions about some of the things under option A, just that were standing out to me. And that would be the $10,000 on the coaches line. I was curious about what the transportation configuration would look like if it was the option A. And then the negative 15,000 under SRO, is that, if we're keeping our SRO, is that 15, would they be, is it a part-time position now, or, I'm just curious if you can
Can I interject
elaborate on this.
Because I was actually gonna ask if, option A looks great, I'm not saying, but can we go,
Drew's gonna talk.
understood.
I'll be right back.
I'm back not in Can we go line by line with option A as to how we found that money, what's the results is gonna be and all of that? Because I agree, instead of parsing it out, I'd like to actually hear for each line how we ended up to this spot.
Drew, are you okay to do that?
Sure, I did the work.
Right, go ahead.
Yeah, if you could just go down, if you look on page 6, if you could just go down.
I borrow your PowerPoint.
You sure can.
No, I didn't.
Oh, thanks.
So 55,000 in BEG is, we have a courier that's gonna do less pickups and do some work inside the buildings. I have a vacancy in the building, so we're filling in on one slide, we want to do all, that frees up $55,000. Monitors, 30,000, looking at the turnover factor there every year, we tend to get that back and like not filling things, so it's not touching a position, it's just what we have in there based on trying to fill vacancies. So I went over the historical on the last 7-8 years on what frees up. Just I'm going to use it to have to go to surplus. Administration is not concessions, but yeah, it is concessions on certain non-association increases. Teaching subs, that's almost a $450,000 or $500,000 budget, so we looked at that and took a little bit out of that. Overtime, again, looked at historical and transportation and B&G and the sub budgets, and we're just going lean there. So we'll manage it, but, just cutting it down pretty close. That's what that is. It's looking at subs and overtime, historical trend, and thinking we can live with 18,000 left. Central office, there's, it's eliminating overtime and supplemental help, for next year. We'll just have to get by. Coaches, I'll be working with Marcia on that, but that's looking at one position or a position and a half, not filling it, not eliminating a sport, but there's ways to get that money. So we're not going to eliminate any of the sports, but we think we have room in there to reduce it by $10,000. Again, it takes away any kind of cushion you have. Just if any unforeseen thing comes out, you're to the budget. But, transportation, the big number there is outside runs. We have kids going out of district for, can't use an internal driver because we don't have them. We contract with a Brown or somebody. And again, looking at the last couple of years, it's come down, but that number controls itself. So I'm going on a historical trend, and I think we can reduce it. And then B&G, we went through other expenses, all the contracts, equipment, we reduced them. So we'll get by for a year. We'll get by for a year. Textbooks, hardware, and software. Megan's not speaking to me anymore, but I cut some hardware and software, working with her. She's a great team player there. Again, with the smart school money and some other avenues, we'll work it. Special ed, I talked about that one student, we're going to have one less student cushion based on what it looks like right now. BOCES admin, we got the final number there, that's a real savings. That came after the budget. And then professional fees, again, we looked at our historical trend, and we think we could take 10,000 out of between legal, fiscal advisors, and other sort of things, and skim a little bit out of there. And then the SRO, remember you were asking, we met, and that's what we got.
Okay. So that's from Glenville then?
So no reduction in hours, no reduction in officers. There were certain concessions made for 1 year. So again, we're trying to get this year, survive this year. Susan and I met, did it. And thank you to the town for being cooperative.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize, Emily, for interrupting.
Oh, no, it's, I understand what you did.
That was really good, thanks. All right, and then we'll go back.
Those are all the questions I had right this moment.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you for answering them.
Okay?
I just got the same question, I came in, Emily, I'm gonna find my line here, if I can answer that. Maybe Drew or Susan can elaborate. So, a lot of community members are saying that we should go contingent. Well, secondhand I'm hearing this. But I want to understand that what the ramifications are of going contingent. What would a day-to-day look like in the schools if we go contingent? If this gets shut down next time again?
So, real simple one is your outside group would have to, a lot of that would be eliminated probably. So, Tartan basketball, the drama clubs, the Cub Scouts, the Boys, all these things use our schools. After hours, we create overtime for money, we have to bill them back. But under law, you can still come in, you gotta charge them to the letter what it costs you. So we don't usually charge for room rental. If we have a custodian who's already on during the week, we don't charge them for during the week. But there is a intrinsic or intangible or real cost to having people in your buildings, wear and tear, the lights, and they do extra cleaning. All that would probably go. Your sports, a lot of them would probably go, if not all. Field trips would go.
Staff.
There'd be administrative cuts, there'd be teacher cuts to get to $1.7 million. Yeah, it would be awful. That's why I only wanted to look at that slide. It's terrible.
And I know the bus stop was shut down too, for whatever reason. We know it's zero cost to the taxpayer at all. Are we putting that back in this time around, or into the vote?
Not for, my recommendation is not for 17. Let's focus on the general fund. And then we're going to reconvene with the board's assessment. But the misnomer is not from the board, is that this was over 3 or 4 years that we worked on this. We were ahead of the curve on it. There's incentives tied to this that are going to, as Kim mentioned, walking out of the budget, they're going to dry up. So next time we get this maybe for a building problem, and we're gonna lose some of the, it'll be like 74 cents on the dollar, not 100% on the dollar. So the 2.6 was a very well vetted cost that's well supported by billing aid, transportation aid, and incentive aid, which was articulated in 3 presentations with attachments, very transparent. So if you don't like it, I understand that. But it wasn't that it wasn't vetted out, and a lot of time and effort was put in this over at least 3 years we worked on this. But I want to wait now, and let's get the general fund, let's get our school functioning for next year, and then we approach this with your input, if that makes sense to you.
Yes, if you're not.
That's even my question, so how much are we losing on that bus prop, but, yeah, answers, thank you.
I have just one.
Go ahead.
Is kindergarten still not required?
Correct.
Okay, so kindergarten could be cut under contingent budget, not it would, but it could be.
Kim?
Couple things. One, Drew, you did a great job. I think there was one line, employee benefits, that we didn't discuss the reduction, or something you could explain that
That's
one.
just a function of the staffing. You can see when I reduce like overtime, and you're reducing FICA, and you're reducing pension.
Okay, so it's correlated.
Corporate thinking, it's a better word. You're an attorney though.
And another piece I was wondering, there is a line item for Board of Ed, and I know there's certain things that we do have to pay for, but beyond the requirements, I personally don't need anything. I don't know if there's anything we can move there to maybe add back to the coaches or something, and so I just thought I'd throw that out there. And I don't know if anybody else has thoughts about the Board of Ed line.
I don't think we're not going this year. That's
Right.
mostly for like going to the convention, right?
Right, that was my assumption, and
Yeah.
And your NISBA cost, or cost to be a member of.
right, so I know there's some
Yeah.
requirement pieces, but beyond that, I personally wouldn't mind taking money out of that line.
I
What do
agree.
you think, Pam?
I think we should push that out, just
Yeah.
whatever we have to, otherwise let's push it out to others. Better use it.
Whatever's not needed to pay our bills for before.
Well, and again, I try to keep in mind that what you're adopting is the spending cap that you can.
Right.
So once we're into the new budget year, July 1st, we can certainly take a look at if there are places where we, as we do every year, where we need to move some money from point A to point B, we could certainly do that.
Yeah, we can't get rid of all of that, but we can get rid of part of it. So, you know, we have a new board member who is going to be training by law to become a new board member. So we have to have money to pay for that.
Right, that's what I meant by that, I mean, everything that we need to have,
But
definitely.
we don't need to go, we
No.
don't need to go to the convention.
Exactly, that was my thought, that there's no need to use that.
And believe me, if we have to go to contingent budget, we won't.
Yes, and that's, and that leads, thank you, that leads me to the next piece. I was actually gonna see if we wanted to move tonight to not even consider contingent and not even consider the current budget, so that's just not even, because it seems like we're all in the same page with respect to that. Get that out of the way and not even deal with that piece of it.
We can part that out and do a little on it.
Well, and if you folks are going to land on option A, then that is the resolution we'll bring you next week to adopt spending cap at option A, you know, and what option A is like, which is what I think I hear you saying. And that does allow us to get a little work done, again, to hit dates on those timelines.
And that's what's in front of you on this document, and that's your line item budget document, follow it, is option A. It shows you what it looked like tonight, to bring you back a clean line item.
Do we wanna, as a group, do we wanna talk about, do you wanna wait to make final on ARD, or do you not wanna go on that tonight, or do you wanna just go
Well, you
ahead?
can't vote tonight, so
Well,
we'll take the resolution.
And I would need more time anyways to check out the details, but.
Chad, go ahead.
So Drew, I'm hearing from you on a lot of these, we're gonna be going lean, and then we're gonna look at it next year. Is there anything in here that maybe opens up, be vulnerable next year, where we can have a pitfall, or if we're all secure that we can cover down on this in the next year? I just don't wanna create a problem for next year.
I'll cover it. We'll work hard at it. This gets passed on June 17th, the 18th, I start working on it. So we'll make it work. What you pay me to do. So.
And I appreciate
You'll have
it.
your schools clean, you'll have your grounds, your fields ready. My team's ready for the next year, we know it's gonna be tough, but we'll deliver.
So we're thankful for them, that they're making the sacrifice so that we can get this down to the student. Thank you very much.
So we don't wanna look at contingency at all, and we don't wanna look at going on the same. So they're gonna bring us back, do we want them to bring us back A and B,
Or just that.
or just A?
Do we wanna bring both back, so, you know, how it's tuning in right now, but just so there's opportunity to see it, or?
Yes, do you guys, do you wanna have it bring back A and B so have a look at it, or do we want to?
As far as I'm concerned, I just want A, I want those reading teachers in the library.
I'm very
So
happy with
does
A
that-
because it's everything that we really asked for, there's a lot of deep cuts there, but it is, we didn't wanna get rid of safety, we didn't wanna get rid of our reading teachers, or our librarian, A is saving all of that, so I'm very happy with, I shouldn't say happy, but A is kind of where I'm at too.
That's what we're bringing is that spending, and then we show you the line item, which is right in front of you, that's what you're gonna see in front of the public, is that line item budget with reading teachers and librarian and everything else I bring because that's in here, that's what you see.
Drew, what would be involved in taking out some of the Board of Education money, taking out the convention money now before we put this out to the public?
I can do that in a nanosecond.
I would personally be in favor of doing that because that means the board is giving us something also, and I think we should.
I'll have it in
Yes.
one of these format for you.
Thank you.
There's not a lot on that line.
No, there's not,
Yeah, it's
but
not a
at
huge
least
line,
we are
it's only
donating,
half.
we are donating part of what we would normally spend.
What I'll do is I'll slide what I can save on your side, slide it back to the coaches. So you think less out of the coach, more out of, that's what you're looking for.
That was my thought, only because it seemed like it may be the closest match.
Exactly.
And it concerned me that you said that we lose any cushion we had with respect to that, so, I mean, I know it's not gonna be a lot, but whatever we can contribute to help to that, I'd appreciate it.
Every little thing adds up.
I'll do it.
You know, some mention of cheese.
Any more discussion on A or B? Any more questions that you're looking through?
I'm not gonna promise that I'm not gonna have questions on Tuesday, just because we just got
You'll
that.
have questions.
That's what I mean. And for me personally, I don't at this time, because I don't want to meld into it. I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised. I really am. I'm a happy surprise, and I appreciate all the work that's been done for this. But I was surprised, so thank you. Okay.
You know, I'm leaning a lot toward A, but I still want to digest all this before I see, Tuesday's a couple years away, so.
Yeah, that's fair. We can all digest it and look at it and have more questions.
And to Mr. Roberts' point, we'll bring you then A and B, the two separate resolutions, like we did when we came
Well,
forward.
it'll be the same resolution, but I'll give a different.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, just pay respect to
Right.
the
And everybody's okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. You have any answer there? Any other business?
I just want to share that Angela Cerrone, who has been our high school AP and most recently our middle school AP, has accepted a position as a principal in another school district that will be finished with us on June 30th. And that is one of the administrative pieces we will be replacing. It will be addressed through career.
With the alignment, we said the improvement.
But certainly we congratulate her.
Yes.
As you folks know, she wants an elementary. So
Yes. I wanted to talk about Proposition 2, because unlike the budget, which did have the higher percentage but didn't hit 60, the Proposition 2 was just flat, no. So I would like to discuss potentially Tuesday about maybe working on one of those waivers, whether or not we want to try to apply for a waiver because of that vote. And in conjunction with that, last year, although we lost this vote on the infrastructure for the buses, we did win the proposition to actually buy some EV buses. So I think that discussion needs to happen in conjunction to whether or not we want to apply for a waiver, and we can't buy buses, we have nowhere to charge them. I mean, that seems a given to me, but
We get a couple, and they call in charge, we can do a couple buses, we just can't have the whole fleet transition, it'll have to.
sure. But I'll be honest with you, I'm now having concerns on even doing that, so I would love to you could discuss that as well. I think the proposition is some things we need to think about.
Any other business from, anything from the week? No? Alrighty then.
I'd just like to say nice job on the first meeting.
Thank you. Alright, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll say.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody say nay? Alright,